Hey buddies, welcome to AmassGames. My name is Simon to bring out a setup, play and review the game Space Hulk Death Angel, the card game. Now this is Fantasy Flight, it's Warhammer 40,000 or 40k. It's by Roy Kineska, who's very famous for many games such as, well, it's now called Unfathomable, but it used to be called Battlestar Galactica. That's now out of print presently. This is sleeved, it doesn't come sleeved though. It's a 1-6 player cooperative board game. And I'll be setting this up as a 2-player game, although it's highly recommended as a solo player game and a solo player game only. We'll talk briefly about the review, and that is ultimately that it is too long. Even as a 2, it does take too long. So various cards in here, various different things that can be kicking in. We are representing man, and we have aliens. In this case, we want to defeat aliens. So that's how the game works. It only takes 30 to 60 minutes though as a solo experience. As I said, it will go in my How to Set Up, Play and Review playlist, it'll go in my AmassGames playlist, and various other playlists. This is very cool, how you store the cards. Underneath here is where you keep things such as the one die. If you want to see how far dice roll, you can find out in my dice distancing videos. Also various components. Now, I want to talk briefly about the review as I start setting this game up, because the components are rather cool. They are simply guns, but I quite think these are quite nice chunky little guns here. So maybe it's out of shots. So nice little gun pieces, and yeah, we'll have them as a little count off the side here slightly. As you have noticed, as a Fantasy Flight games, you might have seen this my Hey, That's My Fish video. You have a proof of purchase little token here, which I don't know if anyone really uses that. So most of these can go back in here for the time being. Now, as I said, you can play this at up to 6 players. If you do play it solo, you're controlling 2 factions. You're playing it two-handed. And yes, you're going to take these tokens, flip them over, and then you're going to pick 2 of them in a 2-player game. So you're going to move these over, move them around, smush them around, and pick 2. So you might happen to be those 2, someone else might happen to be these 2, for example. Now, in the last game, I happened to play as these 2, so just an example, I'm going to stick with those 2. So now I'm going to get out the respective cards relating to this. These cards are going to be 5 cards. You're going to have 2 which represent Space Marines and 3 other cards. So now you're going to find them. So we have a set of 5 here. We have got the yellow set here, which we talked about we'll be playing with. The claws, so here we are with the claws. Now you have noticed the camera is very zoomed out, and that's just because of how much space this game takes up, which is pretty much the whole of this player mat. So over here we've got the book guys, so players of the books before. We've also got these horrible looking things, these gene stealers. Now these represent the baddies, as you can see, because they look pretty vicious. We also have various little items on here which represent basically their different kinds of specialities. These are claws, these have got heads, these guys have got big tongues, these guys have got claws, that kind of stuff. So these are the various baddies, which are basically going to be something that's going to hinder us. They're going to get in our way. So aside from that, we've got various different levels we can go through. 1A, 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 1B. So there's basically 3 of these levels. There'll be 3 for level C, 1, 1, 1. And then you have a 2, a 2, a 2 again, and then a 3, a 3. As you can see, got some more cards over here. As you see, because it's a sleeve game, it's now filling up the entire box. So I've moved it into a different set. So you're going to be going through it. You're going to go through a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4, and then hopefully win the game. So you're going to win by defeating that final boss before you get destroyed. So let me show you how destruction works, etc. You have various other cards here as well. I'll show you how these work. So for now, let's just move out the 4 card, a 3 card, and let's just set up like this. You're also going to be flipping over a starting card, which is basically going to show you how you're going to start. But for now, let's just go through the rest of this deck. So we could play as the red players. Remember, I played as the red before. You have a purple team. We're going to have, again, got a blue team here. And I'll show you these in a second. These are basically one of the 3 kind of boss cards you could be facing. So let's move this off to the side. I'll talk about that later. And as I mentioned before, you've got various of these starting cards. So in this instance, these are things that you can be playing through. We happen to be playing through a certain card here. So if you're playing it as a 2-player game, like a 5-player game looks like this. A 3 to 6 player game looks like that. A 1-player game looks like this. That's basically how it's going to go. You've also got various other cards in here too. Now, we're playing this as a 2, but it works as well for 1 player with 6 Space Marines. But let's just go through the remaining cards. So those can get out of the way too. We've also got various different items. So we have like a control panel, you'll find on a spaceship. Artifacts, you find a spaceship, a door. You can find the Prometheum tank, a corridor, all the kind of things like an alien and stuff like that. A dark corridor. And these things up here represent the likelihood of seeing something bad. So dark corridor, fun enough, you're more likely to bump into something horrible. Ventilation duct though, again speaking about aliens, even more likely, you're very likely to bump into them there. The same with the spore chimney, funnily enough. So various other cards here as well, which we can talk about in a second. These are basically spawning things. Not everything has been sleeved, as you can see. Okay, so let's start off with that initial setup that we talked about. And let me find that specific card relating to that specific level we're referring to. Now, if you have any other questions, please do let me know in the comments in YouTube is best. That's just because it's where everyone else can actually see this video, as it might be shared elsewhere. And also, if you have any other questions, there's also the description in YouTube where you can, of course, follow through and have other things to be concerned about. So, let's find out that specific card, which right now is eluding me. So for this instance, I might set up for one player, but assuming it is for two. There's a slight change to how that looks. So in this case, what we have here is we are going to be having 6 gene stealers. Once we've got rid of the 6 in our area of the ship that we're currently in, this void lock, or 6 over on this side, I have 2 different columns. Then basically we have clear passage and we can walk through. We walk through to the next available space. So when I say walk, travel. Travel is the phrase they use. Okay, also we have various artifacts that come out. So we have various artifacts we looked at, so we'll look at that symbology in a second. The way that's going to work is you're going to have that certain item coming in into the 1 position, and in the 3 position over here, and the 3 position and the 2 position over here. And if arrows showing you which way it'll do it. So you'll see how I do that in a second. Okay, so that is how that's going to go out. So we're going to place this as the top of the board, and now we're going to go through onto those cards. So again, we've got a 1A card, so it's going to tell you what we need. We're going to need a 2, a 3, and a 4, and that's it. If you've played Gloomhaven Draws the Line, or regular Gloomhaven in fact, you'll be aware of the fact that basically you have regulars, which are white backgrounds, and you also have elites, which are 2. So basically you have 1 and you have 2, so a bit more dangerous, a bit more harder to kill. Okay, so now let's start placing out those cards. You are going to pick up your respective cards. So you're going to have your certain items here. So I've got my Brother Claudio and my Gorel card. And what you're going to be doing is taking those cards. You're going to also take out 2 of those cards relating to the other person you're playing with. So again, I was playing as yellow. I'm also playing as red. So I'm going to take the red cards. So red cards are over here. And take my 2 Space Marines again, Brother Leon and Valencio. And I'll take them together. I'm then going to be taking the respective items for, again, if I'm playing as a 2 more characters. So I'm taking the people relating to this. So we've got this person over here, which happens to have 2 Space Marines again. So they've got 3 Space Marines here. And finally, a 4th Space Marine. So let's just pick this one here. So there we go. So we've got a total of 8 Space Marines. You're going to put these all together, obviously the right orientation. And this is a Grail game, very hard to get hold of, and Space Hulk itself as well. Shuffle them up, and then you're going to start dealing them out. So you're going to deal out 4 up the top, facing this direction. So 1, 2, 3, oh, wrong way, 4, and then 4 in this direction. And for now, let's just move this off to this side. Okay, so that is going to be where we set up. Now, aside from that, we've also got these gene stealers. So you have 6 gene stealers along here, and 6 to here. So basically, you're going to count out 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we can have 6 on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 on this side as well. Again, once you've got through one of these decks, it means we can travel through to the next location. These I'll just leave off to the side. Now, what else do we need to be doing? We also have various things to bring out. So we have that various different types of equipment and things like this. So, oh, I found the card I wanted for the 2 to 4 player game. So location 1C is used, and 2, 3, 4. So that's going to go there, and it's still called the Void Lock. Again, it is double-sided. So we're going to have this out here. We're going to find whatever this article is. So this happens to be, let's see what it looks like. We have a door. So I remember this before. It goes in the 1 position, so it goes here. Then we've also got the dark corner, so position 3. Then moving upwards, we've got what this is, which happens to be, so it looks like a vent, or it's the corridor. And 3, again 3 from the bottom, 2 from the bottom, and 4 from the bottom. We have got the ventilation duct. So there you have it. High chance of them coming out here in the ventilation duct. Fairly high chance in dark corner. Doors and corridors, not so much. So then what do we do? Well, we've got these kind of event decks. Now ignore the text initially, and then this is what's going to happen. You're going to spawn a gene stealer here in the red position. So we're going to get 1 on the red position. Obviously red is on the right hand side from the right hand deck. So you have 1 over here, and you're going to have 1 on the yellow. So we've got one on the yellow, we've got one over here. If you haven't got one on there, you ignore it. And finally, you're also going to be placing one out wherever you've got this symbology as well. Right now, we haven't got that symbology, so don't worry about it. But let's briefly explain what happens in a future turn if you read this text. In a future turn, you're then going to deal with this. At the end of your turn, you're drawing a card up. So obviously, it's making you having to then fight more monsters. So this is called instinct. Instinct means in a two-player game, hence me explaining it as a two, only you are reading the text. So you have to decide by yourself, hence the word instinct. So your opponent, your partner, is not going to know what you're doing. Choose a Space Marine. Move all support tokens to him from other Space Marines. So I mentioned these are support tokens. I'll show them in a second. You'll be placing them out. So that is how that works. So what are you going to do in your turn? Well, you are going to take your cards. You're going to decide who's going to start. And you're going to look through your various cards and think what you want to be doing. So you have an attack card, you have a support card, you have a move and activate card. Remember, you're playing as two characters, so you've got the three times two because you're playing as two different characters, and you're thinking which of these characters you want to play as. You can't say exactly what you're going to do, but you can say things like, yeah, I want to, help, as opposed to I want to, destroy one of these guys. So now you're looking into who's doing what. So over here, red is not engaged over here. We have the grey, the book character engaged over here with this door and this gene stealer there. We've also got, in terms of grey again, over by this thing. So this guy can't really help much, so I might not support. It can, in this case, each time they're defending, you can spend a support token to roll a die. The attack misses unless they roll that. So I could choose to do that. So let's just say I do. So that brings out a support token. So we'll just leave it on there, show you we're about to do that in a second. It could attack, so it's not attacking because it can't do anything. It could move, right now it can move cards around and then flip something. So it could move this with this if it wanted to. And in this instance, this is interesting, so when you do an attack, everything attacks. So it could move and activate. Now, I talked about these various locations. Some of them actually have text on them. So in terms of activation, it's owning the door, which states you place one support token on this card. When travelling, the current player may first slay one gene stealer in the formation for each token on this card. So it's helpful to build those things up there. So that's why activate can be good. Attack, well, Brother Leon, for example, can attack up to 3 times instead of just once. We have more support cards, more move and activate. So it's quite similar. Let's say I pick a support card and I pick one other card. Let's say, more support. So I play that. Of course, they play whatever they play, which might be attack cards. Now I've got numbers up here. Now the lowest turn order goes first, so I've got 2 and 4, so I'm going to be going first. When it's my turn next time, I'll explain that in a second. I can't pick those 2 cards, I'll be picking 2 of these, and then those 2 cards will come back in my hand for round 3. So let's say I've picked some support cards, so I'm supporting, so I've picked out some support things. So each time one of them defends, you can spend it. So I can put this wherever I want, so I'm going to put it over here. And over here, and they happen to play attack cards, so they could play their attack cards, which means you're rolling a die. All you need to do is get a skull, so you've got 50% chance of rolling a skull, and let's go for it. So let's say they attack over here, they don't do it, but they have a support token. That gives you a reroll. So now we can go again, and yeah, we've done it. So now we've removed this card, we've got 5 cards left, 5 more to go, and then of course we can then travel on to our second of the 4 destinations. Over here, they're going to roll as well. They're playing an attack card. They roll a 5, doesn't work. They rolled a 5 again, spending the support token, it doesn't work. So now it's the aliens' turn. There are aliens out, so now they're going to be attacking. What they want to be attacking with? Well, there's only one left. All it needs to do is basically get a hit. To get a hit, it is the amount of these symbols that are in that location. So there's more of them, you add them together. In this case, all it needs to get is a 0 or a 1 to do a damage, so that it gets better for them as they have more of them out there. 0 and a 1, no, it's fine, we're okay. Otherwise we had some defense we could have used. So now we go again. So the first thing we do is we draw a new card. This is again telling us what to do, such as choose the instinct, place obviously a gene stealer here, place the gene stealer in this location, obviously another one over there, and of course watch out for this. If there's this symbol there, you're also going to be having to deal with that effect too. So that is how that works. So you're going to place another one over there. You can keep going until you complete this location, until you move on to the next one. Now this one's of interest when you meet that final level boss. There are 3 different final level bosses, but this one looks a bit different because, as you can see, it's got multiple symbols. They're going to obviously need a lower value to actually win. So what do I think of the game? Well, it is quite involving for such a tiny box. Very well designed. I think it's a higher rated game than actually what it's given on BoardgameGeek. It's rated 7.0. I give this kind of a 7.4, and I found it very interesting, really immersive. It did take, like I said, a couple of hours to play pretty much. which I think we could get it down as a 2. It is a good game to play, obviously, as a 2, because you really are discussing your various choices, where to go, and yeah, it's very enjoyable. The artwork's fine. Obviously, I don't mind the theme. I like the theme in terms of actually how you're just going through these tunnels, these locations, having to deal with it. Obviously, there's not too much in terms of actually what you need to be thinking of from a design perspective necessarily, but less is more, so that's very effective. Again, nice variety of the various locations you can be going out to, so that's really good. And the fact that it does mix things up. The fact that you can discuss it with more players is really handy as well. Obviously, you have randomization. One thing I didn't discuss is actually when they sometimes can attack, they can appear behind you. If they appear behind you, so you could be down here, and a Gene Stealer could come out the other side. That means you can't attack it, but on their turn, they can attack you. So you won't be able to maybe defend and various things. Additionally, you can, when you move and activate, move and either move directly across or move and maybe up and down one position. This has a ranged attack of 2 though, which means, for example, on my prior turn, when I was down here, that has a range 0, so it wouldn't have been able to do anything. But over here, I did have my red card, so I could have played an attack card, because range attack of 2, well, that way that works. I move 1, 2, can attack, 1, 2, can attack. So you have a range 3, 2, and 1 and 0. So range 3 is really handy in the center here, because 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 can do a lot of damage from a wide area. So very fascinating. The art, like I said, pretty bleak art, quite dark, and but effective. You know, you are trying to deal with some pretty nasty critters out there. So I think that they do a good job in that respect. Again, this is going in like how to set up, play and review video. I like the different locations, I like the iconography, the fact they have different spawn things based on their colour coding. All very good. I mean, excellent iconography as well. So kudos, massive kudos to that. If you have any other questions, again, please let me know. If you're interested in more videos, please hit that like button, please share as well, and of course hit that notification bell. Iconography on the back of the cards as well. There's pretty much only going to be for these kind of cards, because your Space Marines don't seem to get it, and that's what I've noticed, but they are on the front of the cards, so actually sometimes these are fine. It's just, of course, they are double-sided. So for now, I'll finish packing this away. You have seen that weighing video. They're having daily videos for the last, let me think, 5 years or so. And there are lots more on the way, about 70 odd. Loads more playlists, so please check out those playlists. And for now, I'm just going to leave this with you here and say, back to the table.